Hey there, Chloe here, your podcast co-host. We get asked all the time what we do to take care of ourselves. So we decided to gather the top 5 self-care tips and techniques we use on the daily and gift them to you for free. We're calling it the ultimate self-care bundle to clear your energy, boost your vitality, and feed your soul. We'll share the golden rule to health, well-being, and happiness no one should live without. A delicious energetic detox bath recipe that both relaxes and clears energetic invasions at the same time. A quick immune boost we swear by, and 2 other goodies that will support you when you need it the most. So if you're feeling drained, out of sync, or just need a little or big reset, go to lachiaramethod.com/podcast-bundle to claim your free gift. That link will also be in the show notes. We hope these tools bring you as much support as they brought to our lives. Now let's get on with the show. Welcome to the Activate Change podcast, where transformation is just a conversation away. Each episode offers an intimate front row seat to an authentic and unscripted personal healing session with renowned healer and creator of the LaChiara method, Gabrielli LaChiara. Our incredibly generous and courageous guests explore their genuine struggles, longings, and deepest desires in these sessions, and we, as listeners, have the honor and privilege to witness their sacred and profound healing journeys. As you listen, we invite you to receive as well, feeling into where the healing and insights that transpire might spark transformation in your own life. And stay tuned until the end because I, Chloe Faith Urban, will discuss the session and share a skill or framework that Gabrielli used, which you can apply to your own personal healing. This podcast does contain adult language and content, so if you have little ones around you, you may want to use headphones. In this episode, Gabrielli has a session with Caroline, who's on the precipice of a big life transition. She's feeling bored and complacent with her life, and part of her wishes she could just be normal. Together, they explore what it will take to move beyond the feelings of being trapped, address her fear of standing out, and discover how embracing her authenticity and power can lead to a more fulfilling and purposeful life. Caroline has had sessions with Gabrielli in the past and is a certified LaChiara Method Radical Life Coach. After the session, I talk about when fear means stop and when fear means go, and how to know the difference. So definitely stick around for that. Let's dive in.
Hello.
Hi, Gabrielle.
Hi, it's so good to be with you.
You too.
I love taking this first breath with you, so I'm going to do that and just take a couple seconds to be in the space and find my own body, mind, spirit, soul in the space in honor and support of your healing work and of your session. And activate change and generate healing immediately. So I'm very curious what you need today and how I can be helpful.
I asked for this session because I'm in a big transition, or I'm heading into another one, where my job is finishing that I have right now, and I'm finding myself in another big kind of unknown, okay, I have to find a new job again, and I still feel really what am I doing? And I can just feel really clearly that I'm sitting under this glass wall.
Right.
And it almost feels like I've known about it, and it's like I've been sitting in a nice lawn chair observing it for a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really starting to feel like it's between me and like what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm tired of feeling really bored in my life, like filling my days and time, like my job and making money with things that feel boring,
Mm-hmm.
and feeling frustrated. And yeah, I'm just ready to I want to really address it. I want to really look at it. That's my intention.
Okay, good. Love
Yeah.
it. You're so clear about what you're needing.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's dive in and see where this takes us. I want to examine maybe first, or I don't know if examine is the right word, maybe just feel into like glass ceiling or glass wall, like what that even means and what our orientation is around that. And then we'll see that where that brings us. Yeah.
Sure.
So maybe tell me, what is glass ceiling? I think is how you said it. What does that mean to you?
It feels like a lot of it's a sensation.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I texted you for this session, for example, I was feeling so clear and so bright. And as soon as we landed the time, I started to feel nervous. I'm feeling nervous right now. Like I know it's just because I'm poking at it.
Right.
It's like feeling in my chest of, it's like anxiousness. It's just like fear is mostly what it feels like.
Okay.
And it feels
Glass
like
ceiling. I missed that last one. It feels like what?
Oh, I was going to say it feels like something that's hard for me to see beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So it's glass, but it's not this clear glass. It's not like you can see and you're like right there. It's just on the other side. It's to me, it feels like you're talking more about, like, what's the word when it's like, stained glass, like covered, or that like you can't see through it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So fear and the glass ceiling and the nerves and the things you can't see. And I'm going to just go for what question is coming in. And the question I'm hearing feels like situates at the back of your neck, maybe right at the occiput brainstem area. And it's something like, who are you placating by staying small?
Feels like I'm placating the outside world, but I don't even know if it's true.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's feel that. Say, I'm placating the outside world and see what that feels like.
I'm placating the outside world.
Yeah, say it again.
I'm placating the outside world.
And what do you feel?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask it again, actually. Who are you placating by staying small?
Myself.
Mm-hmm. That feels true. Yeah. Let's go there.
Mm-hmm.
How does staying small serve you? What part of you is saying, thank you, I needed to stay small. Like, just do it for me.
Yeah, it makes me feel safer.
Mm-hmm. All of you, or just a part of you?
A part of me.
Mm-hmm.
The other part of me is really bored.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm.
What part of you is served by staying small?
The part of me that wants to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That maybe is how the outside world fits into that response you had, right?
Mhm.
So what is the longing? Can you feel where you're longing or craving an experience of fitting in that somehow you've believed staying small gives you? What are you longing or craving for related to fitting in?
I think just like being like other people.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm scared that if I get big, that I won't be relatable to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And that I'll find myself more lonely. Like,
Right.
I'll be kind of on my own island. But I've kind of made myself like that anyway.
That's interesting.
It feels confusing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the story is, or the experiences are that when you go big, you end up isolated and alone on your own island. And that there's just going to be, that's what's going to happen if you allow yourself to feel bigger, even if we're not talking about bigger as in, gross, big, large, but bigger as in more of your life, more of you, lift the glass ceiling, see what else is possible. Yeah. Yeah. Is it true that by staying small, you're fitting in better?
No. It's
So
not.
then,
It feels so scary.
Yeah.
To go to the other side of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that because it's fear that's keeping you thinking you want to stay small, but it's also like not comfortable anymore anyway. Yes. And there's fear. It's fear on all sides. Like I think you're not comfortable no matter what, maybe.
Yeah.
And when did you decide there are only two choices? Or did you decide it's just big or small?
I don't know, a long time ago. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you have an experience of big energy or big people who seem big to you that like, is there an experience of that causes some distaste or fear of going in that direction?
I think I have experience of my own big energy, making other people feel small. Oh. Like I'm thinking of the feeling of myself shining really bright and feeling on other people that it's bringing up something for them.
Right.
And that being so uncomfortable and it creating this feeling of loneliness for me. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go to the loneliness. Is that something you can actually feel right now?
Yeah.
Let's invoke that sensation of loneliness to really speak to us. Show us in your body, what is that? Who is that? How is that? Where is that? What is loneliness? And this experience of loneliness when you look into the eyes of other and you think you made them small. Something you did in your bigness or your aliveness caused that. And creates then this lonely you. Where is lonely in your body?
I'm feeling it in my head, like wanting to cry.
Yeah. Me too. Feel by my eyes. A real grief speaks. I feel the grief, and I feel like it pops fast to confusion, but it's really grief. If that makes sense. Like, yeah. But I feel some confusion laced into that. And if your soul and your being. Know why this issue is so important to you. If we think of soul speak and we say, well, something about embodying bigger, more of you, more of life, changing yourself in some way, whether that's big or small, but it's change, is representing this sense of loneliness and these experiences of being big and making others feel small, or somehow internalizing the responsibility of that. I can't imagine that there's not some deep, deep, deep calling inside of that your soul is aching to feel, express, share with you about why, Caroline, these experiences are happening to you. What is your soul, or this incredible being that you are? What does the soul speak in these experiences of lonely, staying small, being too big?
I guess the soul speak is that I want to be able to be big in a way that doesn't feel oppressing to others, or doesn't feel is, something about harming others. Yeah.
You're not wanting to harm others in your bigness. And I really appreciate whatever part of you said, I feel in your soul speak, I don't want to harm people. That's not what I came for. And it makes me feel what I felt when you said, oh, when I get bigger, then I make others feel smaller. I might make someone else feel small. And I could feel the hurt and seeing that pain in someone else and thinking, oh, wait, that's not why I exist. I don't exist here to make people feel small or worse, to cause harm. So let's find in you the deep, deep, deep drive that has created a ton of glass ceilings, probably, so that you never, ever hurt people. You don't do something with your bigness or your greatness or your expression that causes real harm. And what does all that bring up?
It all feels true, but it feels kind of old as well.
Yeah.
Like I almost feel like I'm like there's something else.
Good. So should we release injury recall on that one?
Yeah, that's sure.
Yeah, let's release injury recall on this habit and this storyline that's in here. That yes, it's true, you don't want to hurt people, but you've also possibly done more healing on that and understand that that's not the whole story here. And every way in which we get to look beyond that, beyond the habit and the habits we have and the way that we grow, and feel for what else is here. And so let's release injury recall: physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, energetic, genetic, past, present, and future. Activate change and generate healing immediately. And let's release injury recall: physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, energetic, and genetic, past, present, and future. Activate change and generate healing immediately. And let's release injury recall one more time: physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, energetic, genetic, past, present, and future. Activate change and generate healing immediately. Did you notice any shifts?
I just feel a little clear, like a little less stuck in that old story. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
It's so normal, right? And the glass ceilings or the glass walls, the old stuff always comes up. And the next thing I heard is like, well, whose permission are you waiting for anyway? Like I felt some other sense of like, well, I'm waiting for something to just like, ensure me that I'm going to be good at it, whatever it is, that like, I've got this, like, I'm just waiting for, can you just do it for me? And then I'll step in, there's a,
yeah.
Yeah,
that feels true.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also just feeling like, I just feel really terrified to be the person that I feel like I'm here to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like it brings tears to my eyes, just even saying that. I just feel really scared to be her. And I feel like I don't want to be her. Yeah. But I do want to. It's both. Part of me, like, I don't want to be her. I don't want to be weird. I don't want to be different. I don't want to be, I just want to have like a really fitting in kind of life. Like, I don't know, quote unquote, normal life that goes through my head. And then I have this other part of me that's like, doesn't even believe any of that or whatever. And it's just like, I'm not interested in doing anything unless I'm doing what I'm here to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And all of that. Activate change and generate healing immediately. Right. And isn't that true for so many of us? Like there's the part of us that is so ready, and everything you've lived for in your soul speak, in your journey, has led you to be able to even have this conversation about the potentiality of who you are, right? And what's possible here. And it makes perfect sense that there be another whole part that's like, well, no, I don't. I want to fit in. I want to be normal. And I want to go there, whatever percentage that is, and just look at like, what is that? Like, what does that give you? If you really got to just like pretend you didn't know anything else about yourself and you weren't quirky or different or what you might call weird or unusual or gifted or whatever we might end up calling it, and you could just slide in the box and fit in, what does it give you? What is the craving? Like if you could really pretend there's nothing else, what do you think you would feel?
I just think it would feel easier.
Yeah.
Like easier to be a little more tuned out, to just like, I don't know, like have some kind of job where I just make some money and I like eat at a restaurant and I like go home and read a book. Like, I don't know. It just feels like it would be easier.
Right. So there's some fantasy or idea, whatever we want to call it, that there's like an easy path and I'm not taking it. And I just want the easy path. I just want to numb out a little bit and like not care so much and not feel so much and just ride the waves. And is it possible at some point in your life you could have just chosen that? You could have just chosen to be less conscious, a little more numbed out, a little more average in whatever way that looks, just a little less of your sparkly or different or unusual rainbow sherbet self.
Maybe there was a time, but like, it's really hard for me. I always felt different. I've always felt different.
Right.
Always.
Right. And maybe that's why you crave something that you think would feel the same.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Because you haven't had that supposition anyway of comfort, if that's the right word. It might not be, but it's like some idea that there's comfort there. And I'm looking over and I'm like, oh, wouldn't that be so much easier? Wouldn't it just be so much easier? Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking about like, you know, I can think back to even elementary school, middle school, high school. Like, I just always felt like I was at a party and everybody else thought it was like fun and we're like all laughing at something that like I didn't find that funny, but I'd like laugh along. Or I just have always felt like in some way I didn't quite fit in.
Yeah. What did you need then? Now I want to go there. I want to feel that you at a party, so young and already aware that like, oh, I gotta like I gotta fake it in order to feel like I fit in because I know that I'm so different. What was the parenting or the friend or the, like, what did you need at that moment in time?
I just needed my people. I feel like I'm only just finding my people now that I'm 30 something.
And what did that child need to know when they couldn't find their people? Like if the world was perfect and you know, that wise part of you could have stepped in, or that parent could have had the right words, or that whatever it is, neighbor or the aunt or the teacher saw you and they saw beyond the pretense and they looked and they said, oh, wow, you're looking for your people. You look like you really feel uncomfortable. Like, wow, what are the words that child actually really needed someone to say to them?
I needed someone to say to me, like, this right here, this isn't all of it. Like all these people, this town that you're in, this, like, you're going to meet and explore and find all different kinds of places and peoples and feelings. And yeah.
And maybe you needed to know, like, you're going to feel this way a lot. And you know what? It's not the end of the world. Like, a lot of people feel this way, way more than it looks. Mm-hmm. And in fact, probably more people than you know feel this way.
Yeah.
And that's going to help you understand how to not feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
What if part of your soul speak is to find those people and hold their hearts and get in it together and say, wow, maybe part of my work in this world is to serve those of us who really know that we don't fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that part of this is also that ache to be a contribution?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I often find that that thing that plagues us the most for like a lot of our lives is both ours, and then it's ours in a different way. And that it's like ours in the reason it's so important to us is because we want to make it better, not just for us, but for others. And it's a yearning that's in there beyond like, I just want to feel better. But it's really like, if I can do this, I can do this and show, open the door for all these other people who are having this experience. And often we're trying to wait until we figure it out. Like that's part of the glass ceiling. Like, let me get it all down, figure it out, have the right feeling, have the right experience, or just quit because this is too hard before I open the door and say, I have something to offer. And right now I'm feeling like, oh no, wait a minute here. What's going to heal you is to offer what it is your experiences have been outward to like actually bring that medicine to the world. Yeah. Try that on for a minute and feel, what if that young you had somebody saying, and you know what, someday you're going to help because you're going to realize that your gift is in your ability to see through that in others and to create connection and care and community, to do the healing that's required, to bring comfort to those who can't ever find the comfort of the norm, and activate change and generate healing immediately. And no worries, you don't have to figure it all out first. What happens now?
Yeah, I'm just feeling kind of stuck.
Tell me.
Like, I just feel like this all sounds good, but it's hard for me to imagine how this plays out in my real life. Like, I just feel like I've been saying these things for a long time.
Yeah.
And I just feel stuck.
Mm-hmm. Are you stuck in exactly the same way you were stuck the last time you were here? Or has it changed?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Something to ponder. Like, have I grown? Or am I just spinning the exact same program, right? Mm-hmm. And no worries either way. It's just information. Yeah. So let's be here in the stuckness. The doubt is how I hear it. That like, oh, well, how's it going to look different? That brings me to debunking a little bit what we call the norm. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder, in your knowing, are there, like, what do you think the percentage of people in the community that you know around you or in your sphere, it's like, how many of those people do you think fit in and feel completely like at ease and comfortable and think that life is easy because they just kind of roll with it? What's the true percentage of humans that actually feel normal and easy?
Probably not a lot.
Right. So what a way to try to feel different. Because obviously you're aiming at something that's really different probably than most people that you know to feel that at ease. Mm-hmm. It's right. It's an interesting distortion. It's like I can look over and think that's what that is. And maybe it is in that second, but is it like that permanently? Mm-hmm. And so all of the determinations and feels to me like part of it is dismantling the vision in your mind of what you think success is going to look like, or even what you're protecting yourself from or not. And are you responsible for whether or not other people feel small?
No, I know I'm not.
No.
Yeah.
Right. And if you're being bigger or different or growing in the ways you grow causes other people to feel things, right? Is that not part of being who you are?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And are you willing to let other people own their own fucking realities and stop trying to control the way people feel around you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I think that's part of it. It's like, wait a minute, why are you responsible for the way people feel? If everybody around you felt responsible for your feelings all the time, that would feel oppressive in its own way. Mm-hmm. Then they're changing themselves to protect me from having feelings that I haven't even told them belong to them. Yeah. So how many times have you turned yourself into pretzels or changed yourself on behalf of thinking you're responsible for other people's emotions? Mm-hmm. And are you willing to let the world around you be who they are and let them be different in your eyes and let them show up in new ways and let them actually not be who you think they are?
Yeah, I feel like I'm already practicing that.
Good. So let's activate change and generate healing immediately and get you off all the grids, constructs, structures, forms, beliefs, or systems that have you controlling yourself in order actually to control others' experiences of life. And is it part of the growth on this planet? Is it helpful to the growth on this planet and the growth of your relationships if you're controlling who you are so that you never know who they are?
No.
No. Okay. Activate change and generate healing immediately. Right. So what are you actually afraid of in being bigger and being different and opening the glass ceiling?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Good. That's what I wanted. Because not knowing means actually we might get to the healing for you that's available here. You don't know. You actually don't know. It's not even what you think it is. Like those things are happening anyway. You've dealt with them. You've survived them. Yes, maybe somebody felt awkward around you or smaller or whatever. Maybe people don't like you because of it. Certainly I've been rejected by people. You probably have. And maybe a lot of other people actually love you and admire you and think you're amazing even when you don't. So all of people are just going to be who they are with their either distortions or their clarity on who you are. Well, that's not your responsibility at all. Mm-hmm. And therefore, that's not even really the problem because that happens whether we pretend to control it or not is going on. Activate change and generate healing immediately. And so are you more or less out of control with your glass ceiling?
I'm more or less out of control with my glass
like
ceiling.
Are you? Yeah, with the glass ceiling in place and you staying smaller and underneath it and in the fog of it.
I'm less in control.
You're less in control. Yeah. So I wonder if part of what you're doing is part of what the young person is doing is trying to control, right? What's happening around them so that they can handle it and cope with it and be in it and find their way in reality. And what has happened is it's now actually controlling you.
Yeah. You're
being controlled by the freeze that you're in. Mm-hmm. And so what does it take to actually want to feel more in like governance or authority of the energy and the people and the emotions and the social dynamics that move around you, whether you like them or not. What does that take? What's it going to take for you to say, actually, I want that. I want to be able to feel empowered in whatever is happening and people around me. I want to feel like I can handle myself, whether they like me or not, or whether I fit or don't fit, because half of us do or don't fit. Whether I make someone feel big or small, I want to feel like I'm in charge of being me and that I'm in control of what's moving through me based on what everybody else is. Like, I'm not in control of them, but I'm in control of me. What would it take for you to want that?
I do want it.
Good. Where does that come from? Where is that in your body? Where is that real desire to like get into your reality and say, I've got this. This is my reality to be in energetically and emotionally. I'm in charge of what it feels like to be me, and whatever comes my way, I've got it. And if I don't, I can ask for help. I have it though, right? Where does that live in you, that deeper desire to show up and trust yourself that you can handle being you?
It lives like right in my center.
Good.
In my body.
Good.
Yeah. And before, when you were saying that, I kept thinking of the word peace. Like, I think it will feel peaceful to be like that.
Yeah.
It does feel peaceful when I'm like that, because I am like that sometimes, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah.
And it's like fascinating to me, because that doesn't mean you'll never have another experience that goes the other way. The context gets to be different, where it's like, oh, that's just an experience that moves through me where I might feel awkward or small or overwhelmed by something. And that's not all of who I am. Right. So one part of me wants to believe that the glass ceiling is the whole story. Well, the rest of me is like, it's just a glass ceiling in the corner of the room that you can like stare at all day if you want. But if you turn the other way, there's bay windows and skylights. It's like, what am I doing? I could go anywhere from here. So I feel like it's a reparenting almost, like and I think it's going to take some actual steps. Like, can you have the action steps in place, like a question that you ask yourself 10 times a day, like some accountability in a friend or someone else who you can be like, hey, I want to get on this every week and just make sure that I'm continuing to build the muscle of me in the ways that I know I'm capable of, where the glass ceiling is melted, or I'm just, I'm off to the side of it. It's not there anymore. Where I think it takes muscle building. These are real deep core muscles that we grow. Mm-hmm. And I think when we're in growth, we tend to pull back to the old muscles and the old habits. But then it's like, wait a minute, you have these muscles and you can nourish them and form them more and structure them to support yourself. And so are you willing to do what it takes to support yourself in building even more muscles towards liberating this glass ceiling from controlling you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it really does feel to me like some kind of a daily practice. Like it's a moment to do a 30-day challenge on yourself or something, we can talk about that after too, but to grab one of those questions that says like, yeah, what does it take for me to remember that I'm more in control in the step over or through the glass wall? Like, it's like almost like the discomfort is worth it. Mm-hmm. Because the discomfort doesn't necessarily suggest I'm really unsafe. Mm-hmm. It just suggests that I'm actually changing or choosing you. Mm-hmm. Right.
There was something you said a second ago, something that made me, I can't remember exactly what you just said, but something that made me think like, is the glass wall, like this idea I have of like this primal brain thing, this phobic glass wall thing, is that really what's going on? Or is that now just like a story that I'm telling myself? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It kind of feels like it's now, I mean, it is still a thing because I'm feeling like in this conversation, I'm feeling super activated. Like I can tell I'm in a little fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
But I also am kind of feeling like the story of the glass wall might be something I'm now telling myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. You're giving it too much meaning, maybe.
Yes.
It's, I think we can do that. We can feel it. And then we feel all the injury recall. And then we feel all the hopelessness under that. And like, oh, not again. And all of a sudden it has all this power instead of being like, well, of course I hit a freaking glass ceiling. I'm about to grow again. And I know how to do this. I've done this before. And like, it's not the last time I'm going to feel that. And it's just a construct that's in place for me to pause, take a look around, and then choose something. And I get to do that. And I get to choose and grow my muscles all the time. There's no end to this story, really, Caroline. It's not like you break free and then you never have this experience again. Some of us, because of our genetics, because of our history, because of our family history, because of the lineages we don't even know and have it, the wars our grandparents and great grandparents lived through, because of karma on the earth, because of a war that might be happening in another country, any of that could cause us to feel these ways.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that because you feel it, it's actually true, that it's a story that you have to hold and keep forever. To me, in this case for you, it feels to me like, oh, it's so good that you feel that, because it's you plugging into how many millions of people feel that same way. And the work on earth at this time is to figure out how to be different and still fit in and harmonize, and how we bring differences to the picture, and how we humanize differences instead of dehumanizing them, and what it really could be like to live in a world where we get to be more unusual together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So much healing going on the earth that's needed for that. I want to just offer that maybe this is like a rehumanizing of yourself. So any way in which you've dehumanized your own self or parts of you, or have excluded parts of you, or internally oppressed parts of you, are you willing to just see that and know that that is part of the human story? And so therefore it exists, and yet it's also healable and changeable.
Yeah, I would like to see that.
Yeah. So let's clear anything that blocks you from seeing, oh, I do that human thing that people do, and I'm doing it right here to myself. I'm actually dehumanizing a part of my own experience, a part of my value, a part of my uniqueness, and othering it in some way that maybe I'm just mirroring humanity, and I don't need to keep mirroring humanity in order to be me. And let's clear any way in which you would prevent yourself from seeing the value of humanizing all the parts and pieces of who you are and including them, and activate change and generate healing immediately. Ooh, something happened in that. What did you notice?
The tightness in my chest loosened a little bit.
Good. Yeah, I felt a little differently teary, like, oh, right. And is it part of your own soul speak to learn how to be you and include all of yourself in your life? Good. And activate change, generate healing immediately. So is there any good reason we would think you wouldn't do it? Usually soul speak things happen. We learn them. Yeah.
I think I am doing this. I'm doing all of it already.
Yep.
I just still feel scared while I'm doing it.
Yeah. Well, right. Well, that would be ridiculous if you didn't feel scared. I mean, being scared is important and healthy and helps us to like gradate our changes and pace ourselves. But also sometimes being scared is just runoff. Historic runoff, it just, we shake and tremble. And I don't always know that that the feeling scared, pervasive feeling of scaredness around something that like this is actually like, it's, that we have to control it. That's all. I just don't know that we have to control it. The question is, can I let that shake and rumble and just be there with me as I take the steps I want to take? Because we get so controlled by the instinct
Yeah.
And the instincts have a lot of parts to them that maybe aren't even relevant to the present moment.
Yeah. Yeah, that feels really true.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that just makes me think again, what are the supports for your nervous system, knowing that you're going to feel scared, knowing that you do want to discern. And I like the invocation. Like, I like to invoke and care, proclaim, and pronounce. If there's some real reason I should be scared about the choice I'm making, make it obvious. Like, don't just make me not sleep at night or keep me anxious for days and weeks on end. Show me so that I convict, I can feel convicted in my choice. And I love to really stick my heels in the earth and say, come on, instincts. If there, I want to take these steps, and if there's good reason not to, I want irrefutable evidence that I'm going in the wrong direction. And activate change and generate healing immediately. And you can do that in whatever way feels right to you, to just be like, right, it's okay that I have this tremble. I want to know the difference between that and like, oh, I'm really supposed to be scared. Something's wrong. I need to step back.
Yeah.
And those are different feelings.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd like to invoke that for sure.
Yeah. So let's invoke that you get to know the difference, and you get to do the work this year. And maybe it's really part of the whole year or more, to work on the discernment of fear. What fear is just like that, what I call that runoff fear, or old habits, or just growth, a nervous system that's growing. And so it's still, the muscles are shaky. If you run and you haven't run in a long time, you shake. That's just part of muscle growth. And then to know the difference between that and where is that feeling and that sensation and that fear that is clearly saying you're unsafe, stop, do something now, turn, move, fight, whatever. So let's just put in here that is something you can ask for, that you can ask your body to give you really clear, distinct difference in the way those things feel, and activate change and generate healing immediately. Because I now know the difference. Like that, most of the time I know, like, oh, I'm just shaky because I'm growing, and I feel like I just ran a marathon and I wasn't really prepared. And I'm going to shake a little bit about this until I get my feet under my body better and grow up those muscles and take care of myself, versus like, wait, I have such a deep core intensity coming through me that's making me stop and need to look at what's happening to make sure I'm not running into something dangerous. And they have been different. You get to have those be different. Yeah. Activate change and generate healing immediately. Let's see how you feel now. I'm
noticing, like, I'm still having this, maybe it's okay. Maybe it's just that, maybe it's just that tremble, but I'm having this, like, knot in my throat.
Is that this lifetime or another?
Yeah, I think it's another.
And is it yours or someone else's? Oh, I have such tears. Oh, whatever lifetime you did, I maybe really did scare people with your power. Like, I just want to acknowledge that might have really happened. You may have actually had experiences where you really terrified other people with how powerful you were.
Yeah.
You may even have regrets from those lifetimes of things you chose or did that really you're like, oh, I will never do that again. And that could be part of this experience.
Yeah, I think that's, And that has come up for me in this life too. Like, I really think I have.
Yeah, right. And you really, really don't ever want to scare people that way again. That is so uncomfortable to see fear in people's eyes because of you.
Especially when I'm trying to help them.
Right. And that is a kind of fear that we want to know the difference, right? We want to know the difference between what's just safe growth that I'm not responsible for and like, oh, I've overstepped a boundary.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to know. You need to know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you willing to learn?
Yeah, I want to learn. I feel like I need to learn how to
Yeah.
discern and read people really
Yeah.
well so that I
Yeah.
don't push it too far.
Yeah. Yeah. And how to trust yourself that even too far in this lifetime is probably small compared to other people or other places or other lifetimes, right? To check where your power is, but also to sometimes it's not small. And I think you get to learn all of this. This is okay that this is your life work to learn what it means to have power
Uh-huh.
and to use it wisely,
Uh-huh.
and what it means to hurt others or how to prevent and be as safe as possible to not do that, to not cause harm. Right? That's very different than people might feel things that we can't control, that they're feeling that aren't about our choices and not about lack of integrity in you. So are you willing to have accountable supports and resources in place for your own integrity so that you can grow your power and feel like you have eyes on you to see what that looks like and what it means?
Yeah, that's, I think, what I really need.
Yeah, I think you really need that too. That feels so smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm happy to help in any way. And I think it would be amazing for you to have that, a sense of what that team is for you. Where am I going for my system of checks and balances so that I can really make sure that if I do go out of integrity, it's small. I'm catching it soon. It's not going, for miles and years or into some devastating place. Mm-hmm. So you get that, you came with that as a soul too, right? To really commit to not abuse power.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Let's clear anything that blocks you from knowing how to show up for yourself for that and knowing what to put in place and who and how and when, so that you do feel like you're being held in accountability, internal and external, to growing yourself in a way that is not abusive to others, not terrifying other people and misusing power, and activate change and generate healing immediately. Thank you for naming that spot. How's it feel now?
Oh, so much better.
Phew. I was like, what is that thing we didn't get to yet? I can feel it.
Yeah.
Much better. Yeah. And I also would encourage you to make a list of all the things you have done to ensure your integrity. Mm-hmm. And the work you've already done, to just acknowledge what you have done so that you could be a more conscious person and show up here on this planet as you, right?
Mm-hmm. I think I need a really good team of teachers, which I know I already have some, but I think I need more.
Good. People you really trust with their power, people you can look at and say, I believe in you. Like, even if you make mistakes, I feel like I can stand next to you and trust you'll catch those, and that you'll be caught, and that you don't mind having other people keep you accountable, the whole thing, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this feels good. So we have some action steps, which I think is really important in this case. It's not just, okay, I'm going to do it, I'm just diving out there. It's like, oh, my next step is to actually put not a glass ceiling, to take that down and put other structures, scaffolding in place so that I can grow and see where I'm going, so that I can take the cloudiness off the glass and actually move it. So I actually see what I'm doing, because I think that you get to see and know what you're aiming for in yourself and what your mission statements are and what your vision of your life is. And like having those value stands, like the ones on our website, are so powerful. Like when Chloe and I created those, I'm like, that's my life. That's not just a business I have. These are things I stand in my values. And it was so helpful just for myself to have them, and to know that then I would bring them to my work. But even just to live in a values, like, a lot of us feel like we know them, but then when you write them down and really think them through, it's powerful. So I think there's a lot of home play here in structuring yourself in that way to really give yourself what you need for support.
Yeah, I like the idea of making like a value statement that applies to just how I'm living my life, but also applies to whatever comes next. Because I feel like they're kind of the same thing. Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah. And you want them to be the same thing. And then, because whether it's, whatever work we do, you want to bring your whole self in, whatever that is, whether that's helpers and healers work of the world. I mean, I think as someone who I see as a healer,
Carolyn, I see you that way. As someone that is a healer, you're bringing yourself everywhere you go. You're bringing healing. It's an opportunity to just show up and be human with others. And all these things we've talked about apply to that in terms of how you just show up and be you and not have to do a million things, but just living your own breath of air and consciousness and choice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much for this journey. I really appreciate your vulnerability and openness. Let's see if there's anything else here before we close up.
I think I feel good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Gabrielli.
You're welcome. I'm happy to create some follow-up time too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Caroline, for your courage to just sit with the discomfort, to roll with it, to explore it, to be there. I just really, really appreciate you and appreciate you sharing your experience with us, sharing your process with us, and being in the just like, oh, yeah, this is uncomfortable, or this feels stuck or blocked. And I just appreciate all of you and the honesty and the vulnerability that you showed up with. And I'm really just chuckling to myself because I know literally every session on this podcast, I've been like, oh my gosh, I can totally relate. And really the reality is I can, and I have such personal resonance with every episode in one way or another. There are a couple of really poignant pieces I wanted to touch on for this episode. So I've decided to actually speak about one on this episode and then offer a bonus episode this week as well. During that bonus episode, I talk about the oh so complex and sometimes heart-wrenching topic of belonging, of not fitting in and debunking the idea of being quote unquote normal. So definitely check that out. The topic for this episode I wanted to discuss is fear. More specifically, when does fear mean go? And when does fear mean stop? And how the heck do we know the difference? When is the fear you feel truly warranted? And when is it distracting, getting in the way, or actually blocking you from stepping up into your life even more fully? Stepping into your power, your aliveness, your unique expression, and your magnificent gifts. And how do you begin to discern and sort out what those different fears feel like in the body so you can take steps that are truly generative in your life, in your relationships, in your communities, and in the world? I mean, seriously, I just want to say some of the most rewarding, most amazing, most healing and transformative things in my life have been things I would never have done if I had let fear get in the way. And I also wouldn't have gotten out of some pretty horrific moments in my life if I had listened to the shudder and shake in my body of fear. This is all said with the biggest caveat ever, because there are times when fear is exactly what we need. It's what keeps us alive. It's what helps guide us through life and keep us safe. And some people can get very confused about that and push themselves way too far or push too far over a boundary they should have made because they were trying to conquer their fear or be bigger than it or be courageous and brave in ways that were, well, delusional. Fear really does have its place. It's real and it can be extremely helpful and it can even save our lives. Like, how freaking amazing is that? But when it gets all distorted and contorted in ourselves, that's when it gets dicey. If you think about it for a minute, where in your life have you done something you were afraid of, but did it anyways? Maybe it was getting on stage and performing. Maybe it was asking that person that you felt madly attracted to out on a date, and now you're actually partnered with them. Maybe you took a trip alone, and that was terrifying, but ended up being exactly what you needed. Maybe you had that vulnerable conversation with a friend, and you were really putting yourself out there, and now your friendship is stronger and deeper for it. There are a million things I can think of in my own life that if I had allowed that tremble of fear to control me, I would never have done. And I certainly wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right here and now, sharing my thoughts and feelings with you on this podcast. I know for myself, for a long time, I felt like if fear was there, it meant something was wrong, that was a sign something was off, that I shouldn't go there. And holy moly, it made my world pretty freaking small. And yes, this is so normal for those of us, especially that have been through a lot of trauma. We're all a work in progress, right? And some of those times are very warranted, like my fear of getting yet another concussion. I just don't want to be taken down for another year of my life by a traumatic brain injury. So yes, sometimes to my partner's dismay, I can be extra cautious about certain sports or things that would risk me having another concussion. Sometimes maybe a little too cautious, but what can you do, right? And then there are those moments in life where I have sat there literally trembling in fear and had to push through and truly ask myself, is this wrong? Does this mean that I'm genuinely unsafe or that I might even injure someone else? Or is this the kind of fear that means I'm growing? I'm on the edge of expanding, where maybe even more of my power or potency or gifts might be right around the corner. That's the kind of fear that means go to me. For instance, I literally would never have run a healing session in my life. Are you kidding me? Like so scary and vulnerable. I was literally so terrified when my first few practice clients came in to receive, but I stepped up and I went for it anyways, and thank goodness I did. I love my practice. I love working with others. It's one of the reasons I'm on this planet. I really can't imagine not doing it. And yet, if fear had gotten in the way, I don't even know where I would be right now. And I certainly wouldn't be teaching with Gabrielli. And this may always be an edge I walk. Maybe some tremble is good when you're teaching groups of people. It's certainly enlivening and keeps me on my toes, but also it keeps me honest and humble and in as much integrity as I can possibly hold. I wouldn't have ever supported my dad through his cancer journey or sat by his side when he took his last breath, which was facing the ultimate fear of all. But there's no way I could have lived with myself if I hadn't been there. It was just a rite of passage I knew was mine to walk through. And yes, it was one of the most challenging, horrific moments of my life. And yet I would have so regretted it if I hadn't been there. I wouldn't have ever confronted my whiteness, my privilege, or talked about racism with anyone, let alone in a group of people. And yet, as uncomfortable and challenging as it can be, it has led me to some of the most profound healing in my life, the most transformative conversations, and some huge awarenesses for myself and how I show up in this world. It's one of my favorite topics to talk about in our trainings and classes, and I literally still have the quake and tremble of fear every single time. I wouldn't have the friends I have today because I wouldn't have let myself be vulnerable or show who I really am. I would still be stuck in a toxic marriage, and I certainly would have never opened my heart up again, which has brought such depth of learning and love and fulfillment into my life. As I'm sharing these experiences with you, I wonder what's coming up for you. What's resonating? What's stirring? What are some of the things you wouldn't have gotten to experience or have or be if you had let fear get in your way? Or maybe as you're listening, you're having a similar rumble in you that's shaky and scared, but knows there's something you need to do or say that if fear was running your life, you wouldn't. Maybe it's having that hard conversation or going door knocking for this upcoming election or stepping into your healer self or going for a bike ride. Whatever it is, big or small, what's one little step today you could take from a place of courage, vulnerability, and soul drive instead of fear? Seriously, you got this. I know you do. And as Gabrielli said in the session, if you really do need to listen to a fear because there's actually a safety issue at hand, Let's invoke that you can begin to get irrefutable evidence that that is the case, so that you can begin to feel the different textures of healthy fear to listen to, or distorted or outdated fear that might be holding you back from the life you dream of. So sending so much love your way. And before I sign off, I just want to mention that we have our level 1 and level 2 training open for registrations. It starts at the end of October. If you're loving hearing these sessions, if you are wanting to actually learn how to hold space in the way that Gabrielli is doing in these sessions, you can take our training level 1 and 2 for certification. And also level 1, we're doing as a real peer-to-peer model, meaning that you don't have to get certified, but you learn the method and join our community of amazing like-minded people where literally you can session each other back and forth. And I have had the most amazing 11 years of doing this with such a beloved person in my life, Raina, who was on last week. And it has literally changed my life. We just get on weekly and support each other peer-to-peer, half hour each. And it is life-changing. We literally heard from somebody in our last training that they had canceled a session with Gabrielli because they're like, oh my God, I literally have more support than I've ever had in my life. And I'm not even sure I need a session with you. So that's how amazing and powerful these trainings can be. And we're so excited. It's all starting at the end of October. You can go to our website, LaChiaramethod.com, and click on the training tab, and that will take you to the page that will tell you more of the details. And I'll also put that link in the show notes so you can check it out on our website if you're interested. Okay, until next time, have a beautiful week. Saying a huge thank you to Ali Halpert, the incredible musician and songwriter behind the songs featured in this podcast. We've had the privilege of singing some of Ali's powerful songs during our retreats and workshops, which have been such a meaningful and healing addition to our groups. To hear more of Ali's music and learn more, visit Ali's website at alihalpert.com. You can find the link in our show notes.